Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Leilani. You could also call me Lay. Today I plan on doing a 24-hour reading vlog. It's 2 o'clock right now, so the day is halfway over. But I have homework that I need to do that is actually due today. So this is the day after my Portland trip, and I need to read a story from here called The Beggar's Opera, and then do homework and a quiz. If you hear noises, it's little kids running around upstairs. So that's my first priority today. And then I have an audiobook that I only have 4 hours left of that I need to return to the library called My Dark Vanessa. And this is a contemporary book that is hard-hitting. It's about Vanessa who, it's two different points in her time of life. I can't speak today. I'm so tired. But basically it's her younger and then her present day, like 30 years of age. When she was younger, it was a student-teacher relationship, but you see how the teacher basically groomed and manipulated her, and it's really, I feel the writing I'm enjoying so much, but because of the subject, it's taking me longer to read. I keep touching the table, so it keeps moving the camera, but yeah, so I'm really enjoying the writing style. The subject, because it's about student-teacher relationships, and then it touches on the subject of rape, and this is around the Me Too movement because the teacher has allegations that he was with multiple students. So yeah, so it's very dark, hence the title. But I plan on finishing that today because I think it's only 4 hours. So the other book I plan on reading is The Black Flamingo, and we follow around Michael, and this is basically like his coming of age story and like coming out story. He finds like he's alone in the world, or he doesn't know his place, but he finds the drag society and figures out where he belongs, and his name is the Black Flamingo. I also have this on audiobook because it is told in verse, so I thought it would be good to listen to it and read it at the same time. So if I finish all those and I still have extra time, I'm going to read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've read Daisy Jones and the Six and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I've rated those both 5 stars, and I listened to the audiobook for those, so I'm debating if I want to get the audiobook of this or just reading it because it is a library book that I need to return soon. And I'll probably read this one during the reading sprint. Books with Chloe is doing a reading sprint tonight later. I don't know what time it is for her, but for me it's going to be at 10 p.m. So this is what I'll be reading later tonight. But first I have to do homework. So I'll catch you up on that. Yep, catch you up on that. I don't know if you can hear upstairs, but what the fuck is happening in this book? Basically, to my understanding so far, I'm only on scene 8. I haven't even made like a dent in this shit. Polly is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Peachum. Apparently, she got married behind their backs, and they're calling her a slut. But then, like, Polly sang some fucking song about, like, if you lose your virginity, no one's gonna want you. And then the next thing Peachum says, he says, but if I find out that you have played the fool and are married, you, Jade, you, I'll cut your throat, hussy. Now you know my mind. Like, bitch, you're gonna kill your daughter? What the fuck? And then after that, Miss Peachum goes on singing a song about how Polly's a slut. And then after that, they fucking start yelling. And it says, you baggage, you hussy, you inconsiderate jade, Had you have been hanged, it would have not have vexed me, for that might have been your misfortune. But to do such a mad thing by choice, a wench's married husband. The fuck is this homework assignment? What am I reading? What am I reading? This is ridiculous. I'll let you know how it goes later. Okay, so it's later at night. It's 8 o'clock, and you're like, where did the time go? I ended up procrastinating. I did do my homework. I did all my readings. I did my quiz. I did my writings, and I turned everything in. And then I watched a whole lot of good YouTube videos. But the Baker's Opera. So we left off with the parents slut-shaming their daughter, Poppy, for secretly getting married to this captain. So the parents are a part of like this thief organization, and they're the leaders. And the guy's part of I think the guy's part of the thief organization. But they leave her alone. And then the parents come together and they talk about, I'm spoiling it, so if you want to read it, apologies. But basically, the parents are like, all a man is good for, all a husband is good for, is providing money, right? And what does he have to provide her? Maybe he does have wealth, but if he dies, what if he has other wives? And that money would go to those wives and not our daughter. So they're like, but you know what? We should kill him. So they come up with a plan, and they're like, we're going to kill him. So they tell their daughter, you need to kill him, because it is a daughter's duty to listen to their parents. She's like, but I love him, right? And they're like, do you really love him? Are you sure? And she's like, I love him so much. And they don't believe her. So she goes away. She goes sees her husband, the captain, and basically tells him, my parents are trying to kill you, blah, 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 blah. And he goes on the run, and he tells the people in the thief society, hey, don't worry about me. I'm just hiding, blah, blah, blah. Don't hurt her parents. In the meantime, he's trash. He ends up sleeping with other girls, okay? While this is all happening, he gets caught, and he goes to jail. At the jail cell, the guy who is, we'll call him the chief. That's not what he is, but he works at the jail. The chief is close friends with Poppy's dad. They come together, and then his dad, Poppy's dad, is like, we need to kill him. And the sheriff or the chief is like, well, if I kill him, you have to share the wealth with me. And the dad's like, well, fuck it, okay. But during this time, Captain is in the jail cell, and Lucy, the chief's daughter from the jail, falls in love with him. And he's like, you're in love with me, help me escape. And she's like, but I heard you had a wife. And he says, I don't have a wife. She's crazy. Poppy's crazy. She's lying. She's stalking me. And the girl, he was like, I want to be with you. So the girl lets him out. He runs away. She gets jealous of Poppy and tries to poison her. Poppy doesn't get the drink. Something happens where he gets caught again. And both Poppy and Lucy are like in love with him and saying, please don't kill him, whatever. And then the captain, or not the captain, the guard's like, fuck it, off with his head. Like, why should I care? And then it's the end of the story, and it's like 4 girls come out of nowhere and say they're the captain's wife, and they're all pregnant. But the story was being told by somebody else. So they stopped the story. And one of the players is like, well, it has to have a happy ending. You can't cut off his head. And then it has a happy ending. 2-star. I didn't care for the writing, and I didn't care for the whole slut-shaming business. The other thing I read for class, this article called A Modest Proposal for preventing the children of poor people in Ireland from being a burden to their parents or country, and for making them beneficial to the public. This basically starts off with a mother who is poor selling herself to get money to provide for her and her family. So this guy is walking along the streets, he sees them, and he's like, are those two children poor? Is this their mother selling their body? These children are useless. You know how we make them have a purpose? We eat them. As in cannibalism. Cannibalism on children, right? It goes into details and data and research on why this will be beneficial for society, for the economy, for politics or whatever. It goes into so much detail. It tells you how many people are born each year and how many boys you should keep and the other ones you could discard, and how many girls you should keep and the other ones you could discard. So it's supposed to be 1 boy to 4 girls because the girls will be breeders, right? And then it goes into details on how useful and the purposes children's dead bodies will bring, and how much money you can make off of it, and how much you could, like, they want you to fatten up the kid. Like, if you weigh a certain pound, they'll fatten you up, and then they'll kill you and eat you. Right? And you're like, Leilani, are you sure? Is that what it says? Let me read you a line. I believe no gentleman would repine to give 10 shillings for the carcass of a good fat child, which, as I have said, will make 4 dishes of excellent nutritive meals, when he hath only some particular friend or with his family. And then later on in the same page, it goes on how the skin of these children will make good clothing items for people. And I was like, what the fuck? And then it goes on to the bullet points of how it's going to be beneficial to society, and then its closing argument. And that was my homework. And I'm ready not to have my homework anymore. So I finished everything. I'm going to read My Dark Vanessa tomorrow because I feel like the stuff that I read already was dark enough. So I'm going to listen to the Black Flamingo. And yeah, so it's 8:30 now because time. I'll probably finish this depending on the time. If I'm tired, I'll go to sleep. If not, I'll start Malibu Rising. So yeah, I'll give you an update when I have another update. Okay, so I have finished the Black Flamingo and listened to the audiobook. I did tap some stuff. It's different than what I was expecting. For some reason, I thought it was going to just take place in like a high school setting, but it actually takes place like Michael as a young kid, like a child. Like, I think it started off at the age 5 or 7. I don't actually remember. And then growing up, and then like going to university. And yeah, it's not what I was expecting. It does touch upon like race, gender, identity, power, knowing like who you want to be and stuff. There are some sections that are my favorite. I think my favorite one, hold on, I think it's this one. So my favorite one is when he's at the university, and it's him, his friend Lenny, and another friend named Sienna. And basically the question was asked, like, what is your type of person that you want to be with? And he said, tall, white, big biceps, and a killer smile. And then Sienna says she only dates black guys. And this irritates Lenny, and he was like, that's messed up to hear. And then it says, you both need to understand the black woman, black man, black trans person is always the last to be thought of as attractive. In this white supremacist society, we are all black and white alike, shown a beauty standard of a light skin and good hair, maybe big lips, maybe a big bum, but hardly ever on someone with darker skin. When a black person says they're only into a white person, that's internalized racism. When a white person says they are only into black people, that's fetishism, which is also a form of racism. If their skin or racialized features matter more than the person within, that's racism. I can't be your friend without calling this out. Your ignorance may be innocent, but the racism is real. I want both of you to think about how what you said made me feel. And I feel like that was so deep. Like, it brought up like a good point, because I don't think I mentioned it before. Michael is mixed, so he's half, I believe, Jamaican and then half Greek, and it touches like half of the book. Like, the first half of the book that's what it really talks about. Like, you don't get into the drag race part until after like the second half, when he's in the university. So he's like struggling with like knowing who he is. But I feel like it was more struggling with race first, right? Because it's like knowing who you are as a person, because he's living in a single family household. Like, he's staying with his mom and his father's not there, and then he has another sister, but now they're half siblings, and it's difficult. It's not difficult to understand, but it was something like that was touched upon, and I could relate to that because I lived in a single family household. I am half sister to my siblings. So like on my mom's side, I have a brother who's mixed with black, and then a sister who's mixed with Mexican, and then I'm mixed with Filipino. So I felt like I could relate to Michael on certain levels. I think what was missing in the book is when it touched on like deep subjects, sometimes it would just skim over it. So the section I just read, like, it was like, oh yeah, I do need to think about that, but then it would go immediately to something else. Also, I guess Michael as a character was kind of like, certain sections I was confused, because he described like, oh, his ideal person is a white person, but then like a few chapters before that, him and Lenny are talking, and basically was like, not shit talking about white people, but basically like, it's something that makes sense, because I'm trying to remember. It's so late. I'm so sorry. This is a horrible review. But I feel like they were walking back home somewhere, and they were talking about how white people perceive them because they were both black, or they both are black, and they both had dreadlocks, I believe. And they were like cracking jokes about like, oh, how like white people always touch their hair or like assume things, but then like it goes to this, and it's like, oh, I only want to date a white person. um I think my favorite poems are in the second half, when um Michael finds drag racing. So like when he figures out like his stage name as the Black Flamingo. Um, and I think I marked what I do like. So the book's already told in verse, but Michael is a poet. He's into poetry, into spoken word. So within here you get poetry that's separate from the first part of the story. So it's kind of like Inception. That's something I did like. Uh, I am gonna give this to my brother because I feel like he would like this a lot. So, I think my rating, would be like a 3.5 stars because I liked it, but it was just missing a little bit of something. But I do recommend reading it or listening to the audiobook. Um, but yeah, I think that's what my rating is. I'm going to go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and then read the other two books. See you later. Okay, so it's the next morning around like 7:40ish. Kids are still running around upstairs, so I can't do anything about that. You're just gonna hear the ceiling squeak. It just happens all day, every day. Um, I already started laundry, so I think what I'm gonna do for the rest of the 4 hours of my dog Vanessa is finish laundry, do the dishes, and clean the rest of the house because, you know, that's what I feel like doing. I feel like decluttering shit, so I think I'm just gonna throw a lot of shit away. Um, and then I also think I'm gonna extend my time because I was gonna end at like 2 something, like 2:30, but I think I'm gonna end at 4 because yesterday I did procrastinate. So yeah, I'm hoping to, well, I know I'm gonna finish my Dark Vanessa, but I'm hoping to at least get halfway through Malibu Rising. And then I have my English class later today. So I'll give you an update when I have an update. Okay, so I just finished my Dark Vanessa. And this is trigger warnings. If you plan on reading this book, just know it's very hard hitting. It's a lot to take in. There's gaslighting, there's grooming, pedophilia, rape, what else is there? Manipulation, sexual assault. It's a lot to take in. So like it took me a while to read this because it is like a hard-hitting book. Like you have to be in the correct mindset if you want to read this book because if not, it's going to put you in a state of like sadness. But yeah, so we follow around Vanessa throughout her years of, I believe, started out like 14 to like she's in her 30s, and when we're talking about present day, and the hold that this teacher had on Vanessa and the gaslighting and the manipulation is so, how the author wrote these characters, you just want to hug Vanessa because she's struggling with like internalizing all this negativity and bad things that happened to her because in her mind how the teacher like brought it up, it was like it was her fault, but you wanted this, but we're in love. Because so her mindset is like, this is what a healthy relationship looks like, this is what I want, this is who I love, this is who I need to be with. And all these stories are coming out of the woodworks about the same teacher abusing and sexually assaulting or sexually harassing other young girls. And it's hard for Vanessa to understand because she's like, well, if they didn't go through what I went through and I don't consider myself a victim, why I don't, like, she's having these thoughts of like, well, if it wasn't as bad as me, how are they a victim? Because she doesn't consider herself a victim because of how he groomed her. And this article, this journalist is like trying to contact her and say, hey, you need to come talk to us and all this other stuff. And that journalist could get hit because how she approached the situation was not okay. Also, everyone's just running upstairs again. But it's about Vanessa like rebuilding herself and her mindset on her actually being a victim and unpacking all the trauma that she dealt with as a kid, as a teenager, as a young adult, and now as an adult because it affected her throughout her life because they've had a relationship since she was like 15. And like her mindset is like, well, this is my one true love, or this is the epic love story that everybody wants because they reference Lolita a lot, which I haven't read, but it describes it in the book because that's basically an older gentleman and a younger girl. And it's just crazy. Like, if I could slap this teacher, I would because he was so irritating and it was so frustrating because you sympathize with Vanessa because you see her struggle, like internalizing everything because she understands, like, oh, this was bad, but it was also okay. But this was bad, but this was also okay. And she's like, well, if I agree to it, is it actually rape? Wasn't it consent? And it's a whole lot. So if you plan on reading this book, just know it's hard. It's a hard book to go through. And yeah, you have to be in the right mindset. So right now it's 11:18 and I'm going to read Malibu Rising, but I need a break because of that book. So I'm going to watch a few YouTube videos, eat some lunch, and then go ahead and dive right into the book. I think what I'm going to rate Vanessa is like a 4.5. Okay. So the 24 hours is up, and I've only read 50 pages in Malibu Rising. That's on me because I decided to watch Titans on HBO, and it's so good. It's so good. It's just so good. I'm gonna watch it after class as well. But Malibu Rising, my thoughts. It's split up into two sections because everything takes place in one day. So the first half is the morning portion, the second half is the evening. And we follow around four siblings. It is Nina, Jay, Hud, and Kit. And it opens up with Nina. We figure out that she's getting divorced because her cheating husband. And every year she throws end of the summer bash party at her place. And she doesn't feel like throwing it, but she knows she has to. Um, and I'm kind of excited because we're meeting all the siblings, and each one of them is like struggling with something, or there's like a problem that is like there's going to be a lot of conflict in this story. And we also get perspectives of her or of their mom and dad, Mick and June, when they first met and fell in love. But I feel like they don't like their dad or they don't talk to their dad, just of how they talk about their father. And their dad is like a super well known rock star singer. All the kids, I believe, are like super famous or whatnot, or like they're well known for like surfing or like photography. Like they have talent. All the children have talent. Um, but I'm kind of excited to see what dramas can happen. I think the one I'm most excited for is Kit, who is the younger sister. I think she's 20. She's never been in a relationship, never been kissed. And I think she's going to get with this surfer dude. And I'm kind of here for it. So I'll let you know my thoughts in a different video. But I'm closing out while people continue to run upstairs. So overall, the ratings that I would give everything I read is a 2-star for the Beggar's Opera, 3.5 star for the Black Flamingo, a 4-star for My Dark Vanessa, and then currently pending for Malibu Rising. So if you stayed this long in the video, I want to say thank you. Feel free to leave a like, a comment, or subscribe. Do what you want. I'm not here to tell you what to do. But thank you for watching. Have a nice day. See you later.